Okay, a warm welcome to everyone that is watching us live. This is the Swedish Left Party, Vänsterpartiet Storstockholm, live talk on the week of 8th of March. And this talk will be on sexual reproductive rights, health and rights, and the right, more specifically, to abortion. And my name is Malin Björk. I'm a member of the European Parliament for the Swedish Left Party, and I work a lot on these issues in my work as an EU parliamentarian. We work in solidarity with women's organizations across Europe, and when we have the chance also globally to further women's rights and to defend the right to free and legal abortion. And I would even use the word abortion care, because it is part of taking care of women's bodies to have this right. It is about taking care of our health, our sexual and reproductive health and rights. And it's about giving us the autonomy and the right to decide over our own bodies, our own sexuality, and whether or not and when we want to have children or not. So I think most of you that found your way over to this live talk know how central the right to abortion and contraception and also the rights, for example, for young people to have access to comprehensive sexuality education, how central those rights are in order for feminist struggles and women's rights to move forward. And that's maybe not then so surprising that these rights are coming under attack in certain countries, and in some countries they've always been so contagious and so difficult to achieve that they are still, abortion and abortion care is still illegal or totally illegal in some countries, up to hold a continuum up to free access and legal access to abortion care. So we have all very, very different situations globally in this. And our talk here today, I have the great pleasure to have two guests. So we want to be able to discuss the situation in two countries where it is extremely repressive legislation when it comes to women's bodies and women's rights and the right to abortion. And so I'm very, very happy to have you here, Adela Juras and Celina Escher. Celina Escher is from El Salvador and Switzerland and has made a film, Fly So Far, that has premiered the 11th of March on Tempo Dokumentärfestival. And so I'm sure you can mention and talk a little bit more about this, but it's certainly not a film that we want to miss. And Adela Juras, who is an activist for abortion rights and is from Poland, now living in Stockholm. I am so happy that you are with us here today. And I will first give you the floor to outline a little bit the situation and the struggles and how you see it in El Salvador on the one hand, and then Poland on the other hand. And then we will be able to have some question and talk between us. And you can also ask questions, those of you that are following us. You can ask questions in the chat, please do so, send in. You can ask about the situation in El Salvador or in Poland, but also more largely about, feminist struggle for the right to decide over our bodies. There are no, so let's go wide and go strong on this feminist battle that we have together. Now I will give the floor to you, Celina. Nice to have you here, and let's hear about the situation in El Salvador, please.
Hello, thank you very much for the invitation and for giving the space. I will talk about the situation in El Salvador. They have taken us away all the possibilities to decide over our body. In El Salvador, abortion is totally banned. It's not possible to interrupt a pregnancy in cases of when the life or health of the woman is in danger, or in cases of rape of women and girls, or even when the fetus has no life possibility outside the womb. Women are criminalized by the state even when they have a miscarriage or a stillbirth. According to the penal code, women and doctors are sentenced to 2 to 8 years of prison, and it's also written in the Constitution. It says that life begins at conception. So conception, it's not a scientific word, and it's obvious that we don't have really a distinction between church and state. El Salvador has a really conservative and really religious society, and we cannot decide over our body, and even if our life is in danger. So the consequences of this law, of this total ban of abortion, are that 181 women have been criminalized and sentenced to 30 years of prison. The thing is, the women who have had a miscarriage or a stillbirth, they go to the public health system and they ask for help, and they are bleeding. But then the doctors call the police and they said, here's a woman for abortion. And then the police comes to the hospitals. They handcuff the women to the bed, interrogate them in this really vulnerable situation. They are still bleeding. And from there on, they take them to the prisons, and in the trials, the judges take advantage of the situation also because only these women have no money to have a lawyer or who defend them. So then the judges change the tipification of the crime from abortion to aggravated homicide. So this is why the women get 30 years of prison. At the beginning, there were 17 women in jail. This is why there's the group called the 17, but now there have been 181 women imprisoned because of the total ban of abortion. Other consequences of this situation are high maternity death rate, and also many young girls who commit suicide after they being raped and they are pregnant and they don't see any alternative what to do with their lives. I want to say that yesterday, the 10th of March, the case of Manuela has been held in the Inter-American Court. Manuela, she had a miscarriage due to lymphoma cancer. She had a cancer, and then her family took her to the hospital. She was bleeding and she didn't receive medical treatment. And then the judges also sentenced her unjustly to 30 years of prison. And in 2010, Manuela died due to cancer, and she left 2 sons behind. So this is the case that also we are fighting, and we are seeking justice for Manuela and her family. And I want to say that this law is only applied to women who live in poverty, and because there is no woman rich woman who is in jail because of this. They can go to a private clinic and the doctors don't call the police. And so this is also a criminalization of women for being women, and also it's a criminalization of poverty. And this is what's happening since 98 when they changed this law, and also it's in the Constitution. So it's really difficult, the situation that women are facing in El Salvador, and also young girls. They experience lots of physical violence and sexual violence. And in my film, I have been interviewing many women in different jails, and they have been talking to me about their situation. So also the film is, I want to denounce this violation of human rights and women's rights that's happening every day, that these women are unjustly in prison. And now there are still 18 women who are in jail, and we're fighting for their liberation. Yes, I think maybe I can talk a little bit more about the situation, because also some women have been liberated after the lots of work of the citizen group for the depenalization of abortion. They help them with lawyers to defend them. So many women, they have been sentenced to 30 years, but with help of these lawyers, their sentence has been reduced to 1/3. So many women have waited 10 years unjustly in jail to be freed. So there's also a feminist movement who are supporting the women, and we tried to depenalize abortion some years ago in 4 cases, but the right wing and the religious groups are really trying to do everything against it. So it has been really a difficult situation.
Thank you, Celina. Can I ask you, how many women did you say are imprisoned at the moment?
At the moment, there are 18 women imprisoned.
On long sentences?
Yes,
Oh.
30 years of prison.
30 years in prison, yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that. We will certainly come back to with questions on that. Now I will pass the screen on to you, Ada, to tell us about the struggle for abortion rights in Poland. What's the situation? We do get news, and I am fighting alongside with the Polish feminists and Polish women's movement on these issues. But it's clear that the situation was always challenging for many, many years, and now it's gone from bad to worse. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Thank you.
Thank you, Malin, for a warm welcome, and thank you, Celina, for sharing this story. It's been very difficult to listen to it, and also realizing that here in Poland we are on a similar path, because as you said, Malin, the situation is getting worse and worse every year. But I would like to present you a little bit of a context historically, how it looks like now. So currently, Poland has one of the strictest abortion laws in the European Union. I think it's the second strictest abortion law. And since the end of communism, so like more or less last 30 years, the country has lived under so-called abortion compromise. Which basically means that in the mid-90s, politicians who are influenced by the power of Catholic Church tightened the law, which was liberal before, and left fetal abnormality as one of the only available routes for women seeking pregnancy terminations. And just to present you some numbers, since 1997, only approximately 1,000 legal abortions were performed annually in Poland. And Poland is a country that has 38 million citizens. So it was 1,000 abortions every year in a country of 38 million people. And usually these terminations were performed due to fetal abnormality. And that was the legal status until late October last year, when Constitutional Tribunal declared terminations in the case of fetal defects to be unconstitutional. These terminations in the case of fetal defects, as I said, they made up the vast majority of all abortions, approximately 98% of them. So as you can imagine, after this ruling, mass protests have erupted on the Polish streets because people realized that the government introduced an almost complete ban on abortion in the country. And at this point, I would like to highlight the fact that this decision has no support in the public opinion. According to polls, 44% of Polish citizens think that abortion should be permitted on demand up to 12 weeks. And approximately 38% support the status quo prior to the ruling of the Constitutional Tribunal. Of course, feministic organizations, they do not agree to this so-called compromise, but this statistics clearly shows that this is not something that the public opinion agrees to. Just to tell you what does it mean in practice and how crazy this ruling is, I would like to make you realize that basically this ruling means that under the same medical circumstances, for example, a Swedish woman's life will be saved without asking any questions, while a Polish woman who also lives in the European Union, who's basically very close, like geographically even to Sweden, Polish woman will be treated as a living coffin by the doctors and institutions until the fetus will no longer show any vital functions, and it will be possible to extract it legally. And it may take hours, but it may also take weeks or months or the whole pregnancy period, and it will end up with a brutal delivery, which is a threat to the woman's life and health. So, of course, feministic organizations, but also citizens who do not identify themselves with this movement, they are trying to fight, they are trying to protest, but it is not easy nowadays. We are living in the times of pandemic, so basically any gatherings and mass protests are illegal. It happened that the protests were dissolved in a very brutal way. Police were using water armades and pepper spray, and they don't even look who are they attacking. It happened on one of the member of the parliament from opposition party. She was pepper sprayed by the policeman, even though she is protected from that kind of action. She has the member of the parliament immunity. Also the journalists, just basically taking pictures and reporting the protests, they were arrested by the police. So the possibilities of protesting this law are very limited, and this hasn't been a coincidence that this law was enforced during the time of pandemic. So just to sum it up, in Poland, we don't have access to legal abortion, we don't have access to sexual education, we don't have the proper access to health. So if you ask me how the situation in Poland is, I can just say that it's basically a hell for women.
Thank you, Ada, and also for going back to this, to understand the situation in Poland, to go back a bit in time to this famous so-called compromise, which like between church and the government and a political elite, that it was certainly not a compromise that involved any women at the table. So that is quite shocking. I was wondering. It's a question to both of you, because we know, the ones of us that work with these issues, that it's not because it's illegal or even deeply criminalized as in El Salvador that women don't need abortion care and then try to access it. So how do women in Poland, where do they go? Do they go in illegal settings, or do they travel abroad? And so how do women organize in order to access abortion care in Poland, Ada?
I think it's exactly the same situation as in every country with abortion ban. Women from upper class, women who are rich, they have a possibility to go to private clinics, to travel abroad, and to get rid of the problem very easily. While women who don't have money, women who are poor, women who are not educated, they don't speak language, they sometimes do not have access to internet, they don't have enough money for traveling. They will either be forced to give birth against their will, or they will try some abortions at home that are dangerous for her lives and health. This may often end up very badly for them. There were cases when women were dying, and there are no official statistics, so we don't even know the scale of the problem. We don't know about the women who will maybe face the consequences of this home procedure. Yeah, we only know from feministic organizations who help women to have abortions abroad that approximately 300,000 women they have abortions abroad. That's what we know. And a very good thing of this mass protest is that these voices of feministic organizations, they were amplified. So now it's much easier to find contact to reliable organizations that can help with abortion, and sometimes they even do it for free if a woman cannot pay for the procedure, or they provide them with some medicine that can help them to get rid of the pregnancy. But still, unfortunately, I think that there is a lot of women that simply do not know what to do in this case, or even if they know, they will not decide to do it, because Poland is a Catholic church. It's like the worst possible sin to do something like this. So even if they know, they will not decide to do it because they will be afraid of the reaction of the society, of their community. So the situation is very, very bad.
Yeah. And Celina, how in El Salvador, you already said that I mean, it's the poor women that are getting criminalized and locked up because they cannot go to private clinics. Is that what richer women do then, or do they travel abroad also? And I just wanted to ask also, when the conservative forces try to move in here, they not only criminalize abortion, they usually criminalize the day after pill. They limit access to medical pill, abortion pills, contraception, etc. So maybe just a little tour on that also, if you don't mind. Celina, please.
Yes, well, the situation is similar. The women who have enough money, they can travel abroad and have an interruption of pregnancy in another country. Or if they have a miscarriage, for example, they go to a private clinic and then the doctors don't say anything. Well, for women, it's really difficult. Women who then don't have enough money, maybe they seek a clandestine abortion, but it's really a dangerous situation because many women die because of unhealthy abortions. And well, the other, what I said is that other young women who have been raped, they commit suicide because they don't see any alternative. And what I have to say is that El Salvador's the society is really conservative and really also religious. The Catholic Church and the Evangelic Church has lots of power. And the thing is, we have to decriminalize abortion, not only in the law, but also in the minds of the people. That is like a cultural and social process that it takes a long time. So also people women are afraid to talk about this because also they get stigmatized by the society, and society says that if you make an abortion, then you kill, all these kind of things, what the conservative groups say. But it's really a situation that sometimes they don't find an alternative. But at the same time, there's this feminist movement and many feminist organizations that are trying to make campaigns to talk about abortion, to talk about reproductive rights, because also for example, in the schools, we don't have sex education. Like, there's something that you don't talk about. Also contraceptive are taboo in some apotheket. You cannot even buy condoms. If this is an evangelical place store, you cannot buy. So it's like, yeah, it's really difficult in a society that it's so conservative. The feminist movement is trying to do many things. Also, you know, that people in the whole country know what's happening. Some years ago, it was 5 years ago, the left-wing party wanted to decriminalize abortion in 4 cases. But then sadly, the right wing and all these conservative religious groups came together and were making a campaign against it. And after that, the left-wing party lost many seats in the parliament, and now the parliament has a majority of right-wing and extreme right-wing conservative parties. So they are blocking everything regarding women's rights and everything what has to do with abortion. So it's a difficult fight, but this is also why I decided to make this film, so many people can know what's happening and to put light on these stories, and yes, I think it's really important to get support from outside also. And so we can, you know, find or together to achieve this change. So they change this abortion law and to liberate the women. So this is our main goal.
Yeah. Can I think or I know in Europe, the attacks on women's right to abortion care is clearly coming from the right-wing conservatives, ultra-conservatives. And while the left, and I know they're also organized in the Polish parliament, Lewica, our colleagues, comrades from there, trying to work towards legalization. But I think the situation in South America the left has not always been so clear on these stands, and have not always been so in support of women's right to decide over our own bodies. And this is for me as a left-wing politicians, I've been disappointed to see that. Do you see any change in that, Celina? I mean, in Salvador, but also maybe if you look at in South America as a whole, do you think how can we pressure up on the left so that at least, you know, the ultra conservatives, we have to take them on as well, but at least we must be able to count on the left to stand up for women's rights?
Well, yes, we have been seeing a change. Well, in Argentina last year, they legalized abortion in all cases. So this has been a huge motivation for us all. And we're really happy about the Argentinian women. They have been fighting since 46 years or more for this, to legalize abortion. But the thing is, this positive thing happened, but then in Honduras, after 2 months of this in Argentina, in Honduras, they criminalized abortion in all cases, and it has been like a throwback. So this is really a difficult situation, because now in the Congress, they can't talk about abortion because of the thing that happened in Honduras. So also we have in the Dominican Republic, it's also not allowed in any circumstance. So they are really facing also a difficult situation. So, I mean, what we can is to support each other, and also I think what's important now that we are in Europe, to urge the European Parliament also to make pressure to the Salvadorian government. First, to liberate the women who are unjustly imprisoned in El Salvador, also for humanitarian reasons, because the COVID has reached the jails and these women are unjustly in prison. And also to make pressure to the Salvadorian government to legalize abortion in all cases, because it's our right. It's just a health issue. and all women should have access to abortion. And also what we would like is some support for the struggle for Manuela, because it's today is the second day of her trial in the Inter-American Court. And so as what is important is to fight for this, to fight to seek justice, because this case of Manuela could open up a door for the other women, and also that we can achieve justice for the other women in El Salvador. So if you can support the case of Manuela, that would be amazing. And I think, yes, I think the solidarity is the key word here. So together we can fight for this. I mean, to make us stronger, and also to make pressure to the government to make something about it, because it's our right.
Thank you, Celina. There is a little bit of a parasite sound when you speak. I think maybe it is that your microphone goes against the very nice scarf that you have. So
you.
I just want to say that for next intervention. But you see, Celina has this Argentina scarf that the abortion rights heroes were wearing. And as you said, you know, we have here two guests from countries where abortion is either totally criminalized or almost totally forbidden, as in Poland. But we do have seen some very important progress in South America. Argentina it's an inspiration for many of us, you know, well beyond South America, and so also here in Europe, we've been celebrating and seeing how that, as you said, it has been a long battle, and when I have spoken to Polish activists and others about you know, how can we look forward, and said, if we have to, we will try. They tried 15 times to put forward the legislation in Parliament. We will do just like that. And when I had a meeting last week with Polish abortion rights activists, they were wearing a green scarf, but they had said, today Argentina, tomorrow Poland. So it's very clear for me that people, you know, we shouldn't underestimate the importance that when we actually manage to change things to the positive. So we should make sure that we celebrate those victories and that we learn from each other, of course, to in that. I just wanted to ask you also, Ada, what you see as different strategies in Poland. You know, are there some I know mobilization is going on in the Polish Sejm, in the parliament in Poland, left wing. I know feminists were out on the streets, lesser so, of course, with COVID. What do you see as you know, the possibilities for progress, for breakthrough? I'm sometimes, of course, you know, it seems a little bit difficult, but things can also change for the better quite fast. So what do you see now as the strategic choices and battles that we can have together with you, of course?
Yes, basically I think that currently in Poland we have two main problems that lead to the problems that are a consequence of this. So basically, similar as in other countries with the abortion ban, our country has a very patriarchal structure, and the government is controlled by religious fanatics. And these are like two main issues, and that's why this is happening. This is not about women. This is not about caring about the life of fetuses. This has nothing to do with this. And like, no one should ever believe in that anyone cares about us or our children or the fetuses that we carry. So this is just simply a joke. And basically, these two things, they lead to many other problems, like, for example, domestic violence, lack of pro-feminine policy of the state, naturally ban on abortion, ban on sexual education, small representation of women in government institutions. And I think, like, if we start to fix these small things, the big problems, they will not last, because there will be no support in that. As long as we have secular state, as long as we have money for women's health, sexual education, contraception, full reproductive rights, starting with the abortion, there will be no place for these extremists who just want to torture women. And currently, unfortunately, the political scene is dominated by right-wing extremists who do whatever they want. They enforce laws in illegal way, but at the same time, they remain a legitimate member of European Union, and they are getting money from them. So the hope that I see is basically international pressure on them. And, you know, like in Poland, we've heard so many times that that this should change, like this is not good, that everyone is concerned, but like this is not the time to be concerned anymore. Like we want them to be clearly condemned, and as I said, like if necessary, want the sanctions to apply on Poland. And we are the same citizens of European Union as Swedish women, German women, French women. So we want basically the same rights. And also, I would like to just for a moment get back to your words, Celina, when you said that like this is a change that needs to happen like in people's minds. And I really agree with that, because I think why this situation from October last year was possible in Poland is that for 30 years, we've been told that we need to have a reason to have abortion. Either my life must be threat, or the fetus life must be threat, but we don't need any reason. Like I think that's the main change that needs to happen in people's minds. This is not something that needs to be justified. This is like my decision, and no one should tell me if or what or when to do it. So I believe like this change would be a good fundament for further changes.
Thank you, Ada. Yes, I think it's very hopeful also that a coalition now in Poland are actually trying to make that shift and to say that we are tired of just trying to avoid the worst, to avoid the catastrophe in terms of little steps towards more and more repression of women's bodies, and to say that no, actually nothing less than access to free and legal abortion on demand up to 12 weeks is what we will accept. That's what women in Poland need, and I think that's very, very positive agenda also, and very, what do you say, proactive agenda. And yes, I just want to answer to one of your calls, but also we've got a question here that is from the chat in the people watching, and please keep asking questions if you have. We will have some time for that. And here is, how we can create political pressure for change regarding Poland. Can EU do something to put pressure and have sanctions? And actually, I come from a debate just this morning in the EU Parliament where I sit here now, where we discussed the rule of law and democracy. And it's very clearly so that the authoritarian governments, this patriarchal and conservative, ultra-conservative force that Law and Justice PS party is, they're using the institutions of the state. They control the media, they are undermining the independence of judiciary. So this is a bigger authoritarian project where control over women's bodies is a part, as I see it. And in that sense, although the EU has no competence and in my view shouldn't have in terms of legislating on abortion care as such, the EU does have a responsibility to stand up for democracy and rule of law, because if you don't have like the basic playground set where you respect the democratic principles, then our feminist struggle just has no chance of advancing. And that's what's happening in Poland, media and the judiciary are being controlled by the government party. So the EU has to step up its game. It has to step up and say, like, this is not acceptable. No, when you infringe on fundamental rights using the state institution in this way, that is in itself illegal. And we are pushing for that here in the EU Parliament, and we're working together with Polish activists, of course, in trying to bring that forward. But I also see that the European Commission and even some governments, of course, are resisting this very, very hard, of course. But that battle continues. And I also think it's interesting to see that how these ultra-conservative and right-wing forces work together, and they use different techniques. But it's clearly so that they have been inspiring each other all the way from South America to write into the constitution, to protect life from conceptions. That's not a medical term, but that's what they have been trying to push in there, and they interpret that as they wish after that. And it's the same. They have done that in several countries in Europe also. They have pushed for used mechanism to have referendums, to insert wordings like this similar into constitutions in Europe. And so they have networks across Europe and globally, these anti-abortion and ultra-conservative networks. And I would say that just if we have to know our enemies also, to know what are their networks, how are they working, their agendas, their anti-choice agendas, but also their authoritarian agendas, and to be able to counteract them. They use conscientiousness clauses, these clauses where medical personnel can refuse to give care, and that has devastating effects for access to abortion care for women in many parts of Europe and globally, of course. So all these things, where we can act together, give alerts, but also give power to each other to act and counteract. And I just have a question before I go to the questions that we've received in the chat. And it's a very concrete question, kind of, what do you think we can learn from each other, and what kind of support does the feminist movement in your respective countries and settings need in order to change things? So maybe I start with you, Celina.
Well, what you said, the support that we need, I think solidarity is the first key, that we support each other and the different movement in the whole world, because it's I think the feminist movement goes beyond borders. And what can we do? Well, I think each country also can, make from one side, spread the word, what's happening, to be conscious of what's happening, and the other is also make pressure to their own government, so they can pressure these governments who are really have repressive policies against women. And for example, they can write also letters to the Salvadorian government. They can, say, they urge the Salvadorian government to liberate the women, and also that they change the abortion law so women have access to abortion. And what we also can learn, I think, if we all stay connected and support each other in actions that we are doing in each country. For example, yesterday when the case of Manuela started in the Inter-American Court, many countries they started to do at the same time an action in support of Manuela. So there was like a Twitter action also, and hashtag justicia and reparación for Manuela. And so many things that happen at the same time. Maybe this can help. So we also take the space in social media, take the space on the streets, take the space, and talk about it. I think that's really important. Yesterday I had another webinar with feminists from Latin America, and the Argentinian said that what they did is to make one action at the same time, at the same hour. And this really helped also to spread the word and the information to everybody. And so they have been keep going you know, it has to be persistent and to organize with everything, with all the tools we have. We can use all social media. We can go also with films, also with art. We can do also in politics. Like there's many, many ways so we can express ourselves and also make this pressure and to visualize the situation of the women. So I think that is to use all our tools and to fight together and to support each other. I think that's key.
Thank you, Celina. Do you want to also give us a little bit of a view on like what kind of support can we give? Would you identify as a Polish feminist movement need, and what can we learn from each other to change things?
Yes, so basically, I think as Celina said, like sisterhood is something that is very important to achieve our goals. You know, yesterday I've heard a very good sentence that really struck me. And it was, if you don't think representation matters, you are probably well represented. And that is so much true. I think we should have this representation in any possible structures, like women who can openly talk about their experiences with abortion, with contraception, with sexual education. We need like role models of a new generation of strong women that will show the future generations that we can decide for ourselves and we can make right decisions. We don't need anyone to decide for us. As we said before, we need to use the power of media to amplify our voices. We need to focus on cooperations like we do right now. It's amazing that our voice can be heard now in Sweden and maybe even outside of Sweden. So we raise awareness of this issue because this is not what people really think about when they have like nice, comfortable lives with full reproductive rights, and they don't even think about things like this. But then you realize that 1,000 kilometers away, the real hell for women is happening. So I really hope that this panel will contribute to this raising awareness, and that Swedish politicians will reflect over it, especially that the lack of access to legal abortion was an issue in Sweden as well. And back then in time, Swedish women were traveling to Poland to get this help. So I mean, the history can be funny, as we can see, and it likes to repeat itself. So we can never forget that this can happen over and over again. And we always need to guard this and be aware of our rights and never let them go, never agree to any compromises, especially when it comes to our health. Like nobody around the world discusses whether or not we should get dental care. No one around the world discusses whether or not we should get help when we broke a leg. So why these discussions appear when it comes to women's health? Yeah, I think that's what we should do right now to continue working towards our goals and make the abortion legal, hopefully in all the countries around the world.
Thank you, Adam. I think the fact that you know, things can change. You know, we can never take our rights for granted. But as we saw Argentina, progress there. I remember when, you know, Portugal legalized abortion, Spain, then the right wing in Spain tried to again criminalize abortion, etc. So this struggle goes on, and we have seen how Ireland, actually took the step through a referendum to legalize access to abortion. So there are very positive developments that we can learn from, while also then, of course, making sure that we support the work on the ground, that where people can identify what is needed, what works here. And I've been in touch with our Irish feminist friends. They were very clear that they didn't want much interference from US feminists or other European feminists on how they're going to make the campaign, how to win their campaign in Ireland. While as in Poland, I think the international support has been very strongly called upon in terms of the Polish women's struggle there. And so every context has its own needs also, and we should just be very, very attentive to the needs that's coming forward and being formulated at the national levels. Yeah. Now I have a question here from I have questions for both of you to Celina. There's one question about how is sexual education in El Salvador, and I will give you one more here. You have already spoken about that, how a little bit how people and feminists are mobilizing to make a change, and then the other thing, a very concrete question to you, Celina. How can we support Emanuela in her? Is there like a web page or a hashtag or something maybe can be put out on the live streaming here, so that people can actually concretely go in and support this case that you have, Manuela's case. So yeah, the screen is yours, Celina, to answer to those questions.
Well, at first, in El Salvador, there is no sexual education. They don't talk about it in schools. It's also like a taboo subject. On the other hand, there are every day women and girls get raped on the streets, but we don't have access to interrupt the pregnancies. Even if you are a 10-year-old girl who has been raped, you cannot end your pregnancy. So there's like violence that women and girls suffer every day. Also, we have high femicide rate. Many women get killed every day in El Salvador. So there is this state violence, but there's also this systematic violence against women. Also in the law, I mean, there's also obstetric violence. Yeah, this is to answer the first question. And then if you want to support the case of Manuela, there is this hashtag that says Justicia y Esperanza para Manuela. This means justice and hope for Manuela. And if you go to the page of the citizen group for the decriminalization of abortion in El Salvador, in Spanish is Agrupación Ciudadana por la Despenalización del Aborto. They are helping and holding the case. Also, Center of Reproductive Rights is supporting this case. So you can search this on the internet and see the actions they are doing. The case started yesterday and today is also going. There's also on Twitter, there has been lots of actions and people have been posting many things about Manuela. So you can read about her case. And what we want is it can be, I mean, her case can open up also for reaching justice for the other women. So it can be a precedent to achieving justice for the Salvadorian women. So this is why we need all kind of support, and so people know what happened to Manuela. She suffered many human rights violations from the state, and they didn't treat her well. I also I can tell more about her case maybe a little bit. Because after she had the cancer and then she lost the baby, they took her to the hospital, but she had to wait like 3 hours. But she was all bleeding, and then the police forced the family to take out the dead fetus and to bring it to the police station. And then the persecutors and the police took the dead fetus and went to make like a certificate for it, although it was dead. And this document and another document they used against Manuela. The parents of Manuela couldn't not read and write, and they made a false document and said to the parents thought that this document will help their daughter, but at the end it was just something that incriminated her. So they could not read what they were signing. They just signed with their the thumb because they cannot write. So these two documents, they took it in the trial against Manuela, and this is how they sentenced her to 30 years of prison. And yes, we want justice for Manuela and also for her family, because also her son had to grow up without her mother, and it has been a really difficult process for them. But thanks to all the citizen group of the decriminalization of abortion, they have been accompanied the family, and many organizations, also human rights organizations, are supporting them. So yes, we want, we are really hopeful to open up this door for the other cases of the other women. So we thank everybody who can make some actions for Manuela, and the hashtag is Justicia y Esperanza para Manuela.
Thank you, Celina. I think we will try to put it in the chat in the live stream here also. And but as you say, you can find it on the internet if you Google her case. I found it quite easily here also. So Manuela versus El Salvador. Then I just want to come back to you, Ada, to say maybe a few closing words, and I have one question that's specifically for Poland, but maybe you can take that and in your closing words. It is about, is it criminal for everyone that's involved in abortion? So if you do help somebody that needs access to abortion, whether you bring her to a clinic, or if you bring her abroad, is that criminal? Because at one point they wanted to criminalize the woman herself, just as as in El Salvador, but that didn't pass. But all the people around the medical profession, or friends or partners or whoever else, how is that situation? And then just maybe a few final comments from you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So a short answer is yes, and there have been cases when people helping women who had abortion were sentenced to prison. Recently, a boyfriend of a woman who had an abortion was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison for that. So yes, this is penalized, but there are no consequences for women. So basically, that's how they are instructed by the organizations helping them, like, take responsibility on yourself, and then there will be no consequences. But there is a lot of gray zone in this legislation, because basically when this law was enforced, nobody knew that it will be so easy to organize this abortion on internet and travel abroad. So this legislation doesn't cover these new circumstances. So basically, it is possible to have abortion without involving anyone. But I mean, the latest actions of the government clearly show that this legal status will not last long. So just to move towards my final words, because we are almost exceeding the time. I would like to say that we don't only need to stop it, but we also need to revert the changes that were made. And this should be our focus. We shouldn't come back to the compromise that we had, because it's so easy to breach it and just change it and make it more and more extreme. We need full reproductive rights in Poland, and we need to make sure that this history will never happen again. And I truly believe that by international cooperation and having sisterhood support networks, we will achieve that, because people in Poland are angry. People in Poland do not support this decision, and we will show the Polish government. We will show that in the upcoming elections, and I hope these changes will be reversed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ada, and thank you, Celina. It was great to have you in this talk, really great. And don't forget to go and see the film of Celina. It's called, you can also Google it, of course, Fly So Far. And look here, you see the flyer. So, you know, don't miss this film. I can only, you know, say that it's very clear that the Swedish Left Party, our feminist agenda and our program for feminist solidarity is absolute and very, very strong. And we will in all ways we can maneuver politically, but also in practical solidarity. And I think that's it. I think it's extremely important also when things are especially when things are rough and tough, as they are in Poland and in El Salvador and Honduras and other countries that we've heard of. I think, you know, we should not only settle for not the worst. We should only settle when there is full respect for our autonomy to decide over our body, and abortion care is part of that, those rights that we need. So I want to thank you very much. I also want to make one last announcement, and that has been maybe already put in the chat or will be so by our people in Stockholm. There is we were supposed to have a colleague with us from speaking about the situation in Tigray, and where there is a war going on, and women and children have become targets with lots of sexual violence. And there is also fundraising for giving support to those that work in order to provide access to reproductive health care for women there. So it's you know, you can swish money, and I hope that our people have been putting this in the chat. And that the Swedish Left Party in Stockholm is also organizing this collect of funds for the situation there that is extremely serious, and where women's bodies are being put on the line. With that, I will close this webinar today. Looking forward to watch your film, Celina, and looking forward to the struggle with Polish feminists. They will not have a chance. We will have our rights.
Let's
Thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Bye-bye.